When our kids died, our whole world turned upside down. There was a lot of things that we had to look at and re-examine, and our faith was one of them. And we're not talking faith from a religious standpoint. We had to really understand and look at what we believed in and didn't believe in and how it supported us. We talk about that today in our experiences and what grew from that. What we wanted to do today is take a blog that I wrote recently and read the blog and then talk about it. We have these kind of discussions between us a lot, and we thought that we would share some of our ideas about this. So we're going to read this blog, and it's about faith. I wanted to talk for a little bit about faith. This is not a discussion from a religious standpoint, even though faith and belief are terms often used in a religious context. That is about what my definition of faith is. This is about what my definition of faith is, with some prompting about where your faith comes from and what it is. My definition of faith is a conviction in something without being able to provide irrefutable evidence that can support that conviction. This conviction is something that you have arrived at through the experiences of your life. This faith has been tested by your life experiences. You have had to hold that conviction up to the light of your truth as you perceive it. You have had to decide whether your life experiences coincide with your faith. You have had to piece together that faith from your own experiences. You have had to examine your faith like a Rubik's Cube, twisting and turning it from every direction to see what the secret is. Your faith should be something that your life's beliefs are based upon. Langgeek.co defines the difference between faith and belief. Both refer to how we perceive something. However, faith refers to trusting something from the depth of our hearts. It is not necessarily based upon any proof. Belief, on the other hand, refers to something that we consider to be true. With the death of our two children, Beth and I had to each scrutinize our own individual faith. How did we perceive that something like this could happen? What did it truly mean to each of us, and how would it affect our path forward from that loss? I love Beth's description of faith. It is a card that we carry in our back pocket, but few people ever have to take that card out and look at it. Where did your faith come from? Was it handed to you from your parents or presented to you from a book? Has your faith ever been truly tested? It is unfortunate that some people never really examine their faith until their life is almost over. It is like planning a long trip by boat, showing up at the dock with all of your traveling belongings without ever having checked the boat to make sure it is seaworthy. I do not wish life experiences upon anyone that would cause them to have to severely scrutinize their faith. But on the other hand, if you haven't had to examine your faith in the light of adversity, how do you know if it is really your faith?
Yeah, I remember reading it. He writes these blogs and he's like, what do you think? And I was like, don't change a thing. Sometimes we have to just tweak it, but sure. It was really good.
And so, this whole aspect of faith, as we were talking in there, is not a religious faith. It's faith of what do you believe? What happens in this context? Let's talk about it from the aspect of what happens after you die. Is there a life after death? Is there meaning to life? Is the experiences that take place in life, are they supposed to happen? Are they meant to happen? So these are the questions that we faced after the loss of our kids. Right. And we each had a different timetable to it took us to arrive at it.
Yeah, mine was like years.
I started thinking after the first couple of months that it looks like this was supposed to happen, that this was meant to happen, because I was thinking about all the synchronicities that took place, before the accident, at the accident, after the accident. We talk about those in some of our other videos. Mm-hmm. And so I started to look at it from the standpoint of, if all of these, in order for all of this stuff to line up, it would be the chances of it happening just by chance. would be astronomical. So there has to be a reason. There had to be a method. There had to be something that tied it all together. And so that's where my aspect, where I really started to examine it, and that's where it came into play, was this wasn't coincidences. This was synchronicities. And we talked about that, about how spirit really works with those synchronicities. Spirit, God, whatever you want to call them.
Well, and I remember, way back, it was 23 years ago, and literally I did come up with the whole analogy, or the thought of it was not a credit card, but a library card. I'm like, what is my faith? And it's about this big. You pull it out of your back pocket and you start reading it, because I was raised Catholic, and I was like, okay, you go to church, you pay your, little monthly dues, you pray, you're a good person, nothing bad will happen to you, right? Every day, every night, I prayed that my children were happy and healthy, and they still died. Their bodies were killed. Your spirit lives on. But yet I was like, what is my faith? Because my Catholic faith didn't help me. It actually hurt me. It was a deterrent, because even our children weren't baptized. We were going to do that as the children got older. We were going to visit churches. You're more Lutheran, if anything. I was more Catholic, and we were going to do it together as a family. So then I was raised, then they could be in purgatory. So my faith, again, religious faith was really in question there. So then I didn't talk to God. I put my religious faith with my relationship with God. And I didn't talk to God for 4 years. I was just having a little temper tantrum until...
You were going to show him.
So then or her. One of my friends was like, I'm sure, he or she is really worried about you. And I mean, they know that you're on this path, or on this journey of evolving. So then I had to get rid of my religious faith to have a relationship with God. And then I also grew a spirituality faith.
There is a difference between spirituality and religion. And I know a lot of times they're lumped together, but religion is typically a doctrine that you follow. Spirituality is your relationship with your greater being, and that's my definition of it, but kind of paraphrasing that. But it just, you need to develop that. You need to have that faith. And one of the sayings that we heard a lot, which still to this day aggravates me, is, well, God doesn't give you anything you can't handle. So does that mean if we're weaker people, our kids are still alive? That doesn't make any sense. And
that's kind of a cliche that just was easy for people to say.
And when you look at it from that aspect of what your faith is, that type of a phrase doesn't really have anything to do with it. So we began to understand the accident happened for a reason. Our kids were here for a short time period to put us in a position to be able to help other people. We believe that they've never left us. They're still with us, and we know that because we see the signs. They contact us in through different ways. We understand that we're here for a short time, and then we move on, and we come back over and over again to learn, to grow from a spiritual standpoint, to be able to make a decision at some point whether you're going to come back down or whether you're going to stay on the other side and help from the other side. And so you evolve over time, and that's kind of what we've come to understand and accept and believe. And not only from the standpoint of everything that happened to us, but at least for me, when all of this work I do from the shamanic side of things, and the experiences I had working with people, and the connections I get with people that have passed, and the things that I've seen, to me, that continues to cement that whole aspect of faith. And it's those life experiences. And as we said on the blog, we're fortunate enough, but unfortunate enough to have been put in that position to be able to have to really look and examine that.
Well, and I want to talk about God, or even when I was in the Catholic faith, is that we feared God.
Right.
You know, and one of my prayers that really irritated me was, "Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I've sinned through my own thoughts, through my words, and what I have failed to do." And even, okay, the kids passed, and I was starting to like waver and going away from the church. Even our kids, Gabe, Ben, and Grace, still went to the Catholic Church. And when we'd go to Mass, I would not say that prayer. I'm like, my God, I don't think he's a fearful God. Everything I have and my teachings now is he's a loving God, and he wants the best for us. And I call him God. You call him Spirit. You might call him Buddha. Who are we to name him? That's what I love. What you always say too. He's known as 1,000 names.
Right. Go ahead.
No, it's just I do believe God, when I call God, is a loving God.
Right.
And we do not need to be afraid. And we are not sinners.
Right.
And what I failed to do, are you kidding me? I pretty much follow the 10 Commandments because that's still kind of how I was raised. But yet, no, he's loving.
Right.
She is loving. Maybe, we don't know.
Christianity and some of those beliefs is really one of the only religious doctrines where we were kicked out of the Garden of Eden. Every other doctrine around the world, including even the indigenous peoples and their beliefs, we are caretakers of the earth. We're caretakers of the garden. We didn't get kicked out. We didn't start out with an adversarial relationship right off the bat with our God, with a female. And so we automatically got set up with an adversarial relationship with a female because the female is the one that caused the problems. She ate from the forbidden
Here's the apple,
fruit.
Adam.
Right. We got kicked out of the Garden of Eden, so now it's an adversarial relationship, and we're living in fear. Where most other cultures around the world, including indigenous peoples, all talk about us being the caretakers of the earth, the caretakers of that Garden of Eden. And to me, that's a much better way to live life. And to experience that aspect of your relationship with Spirit. And we're not here to preach, and I'm sorry if it comes across that way.
Right. Definitely not. Everybody has their faith and their religion, and if that works for you. But we just thought we'd come on here, is to be like, when something as catastrophic as losing a loved one, or a child, or children, you do question it. That little card, there was not enough answers.
Right.
So then I also use the thought of all my faith, my religious faith was in this little box.
Right.
There weren't enough answers in that little box. So I went outside the box to find my answers. And that's all we're saying to you, is question some of these things.
Right.
Because have a wonderful relationship with God. Don't be afraid.
Right.
Or Spirit. They're there. Spirit is there to help you. And it is a loving connection, because we are here on earth, and it is kind of sometimes very, very sad because again, hell is defined as the absence of God, so we are without God here, so we it is a little hard down here.
Right. And so take a look at your faith, I guess, is kind of the message we're coming across through this whole thing, is take a look at your faith, really examine it, try and look at it from different angles, and use our experience as a way to help you with that. If I lost my kids, how does my faith stand up to that? If I lost my husband or my wife, or my parents, if something else catastrophic happened, how does my faith support me in that, or can it support me in that?
And don't get stopped at, oh my gosh, what if I lose my child, and all of a sudden you're in that, oh, that's so awful, I can't even think about it. No, it's just hypothetical. Go past it and try to figure out, what could I stand on? Take some classes, reach out to find more spiritual people and listen. And the thing is, we all have this thing called inner knowing. We've all been home. We've all been in whatever you want to call it, home, heaven. We've been there. And so we have this inner knowing. And when it feels right, then you hang on to it.
Right.
And you go, okay, makes sense to me. And that's also how I say it's the foundation. You build a foundation on that. And you
do.
and you get stronger.
It's your foundation, as Beth said, that you can't necessarily provide absolute proof for, but you know it to be true.
Right.
And so find that for yourself. Examine it. Make sure it fits you.
Right.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment. We do love to hear from you.